painful predicament. You see, I've come to find out that people don't mind promotion, but you have trouble dealing with the pressure of your faith. Because sometimes your faith will put you in a position when you have to make a choice, and neither choice seems favorable. Have you ever been there where your faith seemed to have you trapped? Yeah, when you had to make a decision concerning your faith, but either decision that you made had a painful end attached to it. But see, I had to understand that true faith in God is not contingent upon how God answers my prayer. Yeah, true faith is not wavered, moved, or compromised by the outcome. You see, faith is not a reaction to God's response. I said it one more time. Y'all listen. Faith is not a reaction to God's response. So that means that even if God does not do what I am anticipating and expecting him to do, it's not going to make me make a concession within my faith. See, many of us, we don't mind having faith in God. We know that our faith is going to work out with a flowery bed of ease. But many of us have difficulties with our faith when our faith causes us to make a decision that's not easy to make. But you see, it is the measure of faith that an individual has that positions them to experience miracles in their lives. Every time Jesus healed, he said, "Be it done according to your faith." Which means that if I need a great miracle, then I must have great faith. If I need God to do something extraordinary in my life, then that must mean that I must have extraordinary faith. You see, the reality of it is that the enemy wants you to give up. The enemy wants to put you in a place where your faith may be compromised. But the reality of the situation that we find out in the text tonight is that these three men, they made a resolve. The resolve is that I don't have to be careful with how I answer you. The reality of it is that you did not put me where I am. And if you don't mind, let me put a dime in the meter and park right here and tell somebody, be careful of people who think that they are responsible to the favor of God on your life. Folk will try to hold things over your head and make it seem as though that they are responsible for every good thing that happened in your life. But you ought to be able to say like the songwriter said, everything that happened to me that was good, God. You see, even though I may be in a position of compromise, I have resolved that either way this goes, I'm still going to be all right. If God answers my prayer the way I am asking him to, or if God decides to do something else, either way it goes, I'm still going to be all right. Let's go home, coach. You see, the reality of the situation is tonight, brothers and sisters, we have to reach a point in our lives where we have that same resolve. is. But most of us have been in a recession all the days of our lives. Most of us ain't had health care until recent years ago. So if God took care of me then, that means that he's obligated to take care of me again. Somebody said that there is no secret to what God can do. If he's done it for others, he'll do the same thing for you. So God told me to tell you tonight, this is not the first time that you've been in trouble. But he also told me to remind you that you got to remember who you really are. Remember, I told you to put a pin in the text because they had their names changed. Oh yes, Shadrach's name was Hananiah. Meshach's name was Mishael. Abednego's name was Azariah. And so when they went in the fiery furnace, they did not go as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but they went in as Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, because Hananiah